Welcome back to Common Core Common Sense. Today we have Lizette Lamplugh to tell us about guidance. All right, so tell us a little bit about how long you've been a guidance counselor.
I've been certified school counselor. This is my 8th year, 8th and a half. I'm going to my 9th soon.
Okay. What differences can a parent expect in guidance departments between elementary, middle, and high schools?
Well, with elementary school, a lot of times, and it differs, between states and regions. It's usually one counselor per school. So one elementary school counselor will be for their entire region.
Okay.
When you get into middle school, a lot of schools, especially in this area, they have house counselors. So per grade level, there is one counselor, depending on the population, maybe 2 per grade level. And then there's other specialities like exceptional student education, if they may have a counselor for those specific populations. High school, also depending on the school and the population, could have between 4, sometimes 10 counselors per school. I know currently in the school that I'm at right now, we go 9 through 12, and we have our same students, and we follow them from 9th through 12th grade. So it really gives us and affords us the opportunity to get to know the kids better. And watch them grow from that slightly more unsure 9th grader to much more assured 12th grader ready to head out into the world, which is really cool. I enjoy that part.
Yeah, I do too. So when does my child meet his or her counselor? Or do I have to facilitate that? Is there a program for it? Is it just on an as-needed basis?
The first time I meet my 9th graders is when they're 8th graders. When we do their registrations and we actually physically go to the middle school to do their registration, whether it's a nighttime registration with their parents or if it's us going to the school during the school day and we help them pick out their elective classes, their teacher pick out their core classes. So we do get to meet face to face, and at least they can kind of put a face to a name. They're like, oh, I've seen that lady before. Notoriously, our 9th graders are as quiet as dry paint. They really don't say anything. I think they have the thought that the school counseling office is the same as the discipline office. So if you're in trouble, you're going to the guidance office. No, it's different. And we meet during parent-teacher conferences. I have some parents introduce themselves via email so we're able to sit down and get to know each other. We have open hours during lunchtime. We have students that are able to come in, ask questions anytime without having to make an appointment. So we try to make ourselves available as much as possible. In a school of almost 3,000 students, it's difficult to have a very individualized kind of counseling program, but we're trying to get as close as possible.
Does that relationship or that FaceTime change with grade level?
Yes.
Because I don't remember ever knowing who my counselor was in elementary school.
Elementary school, I don't think I had a counselor.
Yeah.
I really don't. If I did, I really didn't see them. But high school, I did get to see them a lot more often because the more questions that I had about what I was going to do after high school, the more and more I would go see them. So like I said, my freshmen that normally may have 1 to 5 questions a year, or if we sit in on parent conferences, or if I go and speak to 9th grade classes about their graduation requirements and how the importance of keeping up their grades. As things progress, by the time 11th and 12th grade come around, I can't get them to leave sometimes because they're like, hey, miss, what are you doing? I need help with this. Or they feel much more comfortable coming in so that, it really forges a close relationship that I can work with them and understand them better so that when they're having an off day, they know that my door is open unless I'm physically not there.
Right.
They know how it works.
So what services do most guidance departments offer?
Oh, where do I start? Academic advising. We do individualized counseling. We do not do mental health counseling because we're not mental health certified. However, in emergent services and emergencies and things like that, of course, we're there to be of support to our students. And a lot of times if we're aware that there's something that they're going through, we make sure that they know that there's someplace safe that they can go to if they're having an off day, or say if they do have behavioral issues, that they have a place to come and decompress before they go on for the day. Because if it is a situation where they could get into a disciplinary problem, we would prefer that they come to see us, talk it out, and then, we decide if it's okay, they go back to class, or if maybe it's just an off day and they need to maybe go home for a little bit, and tomorrow we try it again. We also sometimes we do small groups depending on the need. We do a needs assessment for the campus to see if there was a specific population that may need a group.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done groups in years past with our students that are also parents. And I had a grouping of students to ensure that they were extremely at risk to not graduate on time.
Yeah.
And by the time that group of students graduated, they not only graduated high school, but they were dual enrolled. They were getting their
Wow.
degrees already, and their kids were toddlers. So they
That's
were
fantastic.
going against the statistic of what a teen mom would be or a teen dad
Mm-hmm.
would be. So to try to provide the support, and even though it wasn't the optimal time for them to have children, that didn't mean that they had to quit school, that they had to
Right.
quit life, because they're still parents and they had to provide.
Right.
So those are things that we try to assist our students with, because they may have a plan, but a lot of times plans change. And we do grief counseling sometimes on the spot grief counseling. Like if we lose a student at school, we do spend that time with the kids trying to help them get through that difficult time and the support that goes afterwards.
What is the best way to contact my child's counselor?
Wow. I with so much technology going on, there is many more ways than the standard phone call. There's the phone call. We have the website available for our school. Each of our counselors has their own individual site, so that you can email them directly. Make an appointment. I love to see my parents in their faces, because it makes more sense. Putting a face to a voice and a face to a name. I can't get a gist for what the dynamic is going on at home if I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to do, like when a student is coming in and they're feeling a frustration with, my mom doesn't understand or my dad doesn't understand. But then when I'm trying to maybe get them together, try to get through a rough time and conference together, I don't get anybody. It's tough to make that connection and to be able to help them to get through it. Because in 4 years working with each individual student, it's extremely important, because sometimes I feel like their parent for those hours of the day. So if something is wrong with them and they need to see me, I want to make sure that I'm leading them in the right direction.
Giving the proper backup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If there has been a death or some other crisis in my family, what should I do? Should I contact you? Should I just the guidance department?
Absolutely. Please contact your student counselor, because if we know what is going on, then it's best. It helps us to relay it to the teachers, if of course they want the teachers to know, because I always want to make sure, yes, you're telling me, is it okay if I tell teachers as well? Because if they start noticing behavioral problems,
Right.
if there's a discipline issue, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the student is getting into a fight, I was like, that's unusual. Johnny doesn't usually, aggress like this. What's going on? It's important for the teachers to know, so that they can be aware, be sensitive to what's going on, and to know that if they're having an off time, if they're having trouble getting through, if they require resources outside of school for grief counseling, for the family, for the individual, that we can provide it for them, and we can, instead of being, oh no, it's school calling. No, it's an additional support for them. We're not against the families, we're not against our kids, we want them to be successful.
Yeah. I'm not interested in writing a student a referral if they're acting out of some sort of misdirected grief or anger or emotion. I'm not going to condone it, but I certainly want to put that student in a safer place to, like you say, work through whatever that is. Okay. All right. Helicopter parenting. How do we avoid it? At what point should I let my student operate independently with his or her counselor?
Helicopter parenting, helicopter parents are going to be around for a very long time, because
They're human.
they're human and they love their children. They hover because they care. That's why mom's like, I nag because I care. That's what we do as parents. But there comes a boundary, there comes to a point where the need to have everything right all the time and the need to control ends up kind of handicapping that child, because they won't know when it is time to advocate for themselves. And usually, like I said, that break around junior, senior year, that's usually when I'm starting to see my students become more independent and have more questions on their own, instead of sometimes it goes on through senior year, and I don't know what's going to happen to that student because they haven't made a decision for themselves yet.
Wow.
They have, mom or dad have done their application for them. Mom and dad have done their scholarship applications for them. They've completed their FAFSA for them. They've practically written their essay for them. Yes, they got into the university that they've always dreamed of going to, but then they have to come to the realization that they actually have to leave the house and go to that university without them.
Right.
And sometimes the student, they have to feel confident in the way that they raise them that they're going to make the right decision or be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
So it's a tough, I can't say habit to break because there's no habit that makes you stop loving your kids.
Right.
But just to try to, little by little, give them opportunities to make a decision for themselves and to deal with the consequence if it wasn't the right decision for
Be a
them,
safe
even
place
if it's
to fall. Like
even
Dr.
if it's
Phil
an academic.
says.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give them a safe place.
Okay, another topic change. My child gets good grades in class, let's pretend, but they've got to really work to get their assignments done. They don't really struggle, but they've got to work at it. But their standardized test scores are bad. Is this a sign of test-taking anxiety? Is it possible to have that anxiety for just standardized tests? What do I look for? I mean, when I see this kind of, you're getting good grades and you seem to understand what you're doing, but yet your test scores are not reflecting that, what does that tell me as a parent?
Well, I've been seeing more and more as more high-risk testing has occurred and advent of and where we are with standardized testing. Everywhere around the corner, there's standardized testing. And it's so high stake, and it provokes a good amount of anxiety in kids because if you don't pass this, you're not going to graduate. If you don't pass this, you're not going to get into a good college. If you don't pass this, and they really do tend to tie it to their worth. Like, if I don't pass this, then I'm not smart. But it's more than that. When I have students they ask me questions like the SAT versus the ACT, which one's better? Which one's going to show, things better for me? It's not so much that the test is going to show anything. It's how well you did. Did you prepare? The test isn't going to show very many good things if you didn't prepare for it,
Right.
if you don't know what's coming, and to understand that there are a variety of tests that you can use so that, say, you're science strong. Maybe you want to take the ACT because that's a science component. If you're writing strong, SAT. Things like, in our state, the FCAT. There's writing. Look at your test scores. If main idea is a weak point, if it's a lowest portion of your score, that's something that you would need to be working on. Understanding the test helps take the sting out of the anxiety away because you know your enemy, for lack of better terms.
Yeah. And we do have a page on the website where it's preparing for college, and there are a bunch of different additional sites where they can go and practice those skills necessary for SAT and ACT, and grammar and spelling and vocabulary and graphic organizers and such like that. So the website, Common Core Common Sense, I'm just plugging myself, is a place for that sort of thing. But I'm bringing it up because parents don't really know where to go, to get those resources to help their kids, prepare. I mean, the internet is a wonderful thing in that it's made the world very small, but it's kind of made the world complicated too, because trying to determine the validity of sources is crazy. But it's important to do what you said, to prepare your child, to know the enemy, to do well on the test. How soon should I start planning with my child what they might want to pursue after high school?
Well, I think as kids grow and as parents we watch them, they tend to have and lean towards their strengths at a pretty early age. And you wouldn't think to put the two and two together. Like if, Bobby has always loved to build things, you wouldn't think that he would want to go into architecture when they're 3. But then if he's always creating, if he's always tending to take stuff apart and put them back together, you wouldn't consider equating that with engineering in the future. But that's, as parents know their children, the more you get to know them and where their natural talents lie, then that kind of helps open things up for their careers to not just be something that makes money. It's something that they genuinely love to do, because once you're doing stuff that you love, you're not working anymore.
So maybe somewhere junior or middle school, or like 9th or 10th grade, you kind of start planting those seeds. You know, you're really talented with that Lego set. Have you thought about engineering, or let's look at that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Just kind of suggest it and let it go and see what the kid does with it.
Yeah, because I do have a grouping of students, and it happens every year. Well, my mom and dad think I should go into nursing because they're going to make money. But I hate people. Like, if you don't like people,
Don't be a nurse.
don't be a nurse. Or I hate blood, I'm afraid of it. Don't be a nurse.
Right.
As it, that, you know, financial gain is not the only reason to do something, and the sooner they understand that, the better, because then they're really going to get more out of not only their education, but their future career.
Right.
And it's their happiness at stake, and that's something that's too precious to be just thrown around.
I agree. Speaking of precious, there's another hot topic that's out there in the news right now, bullying. And I just, yeah. So if I feel that my precious is being bullied, what can I actually do? I mean, what kind of support can you offer, can the guidance department offer to get my child through that?
You have to find out as much as you possibly can about the situation, because with technology being, you know, all over the place, it's inside everything. It's ingrained in their minds. Once they get home, it's on their phones, it's on their computers. It's taken on a whole new, you know, part of things now. Say, you know, back in the day when cell phones didn't have internet, Facebook, none of those things, if a student was having a conflict with another student and we could do conflict resolution, face-to-face conflict resolution, it was a safe thing to do, we would resolve it there, because they wouldn't, sometimes I didn't find students as resistant to let me know who was the person they were having the conflict with. But now that after they come home, it's on their cell phone, it's in their Facebook, it's on their Instagram, and someone just, you know, said something on Twitter,
It's even more
they
overwhelming.
can't escape.
Yeah.
They're not finding peace, so they're like, if I can't, you know, be at peace at school and I can't be at peace at home, then what's the use? It's not, you know, something, no adult's going to be able to help me because it's too big. But if I don't know, I can't help. And they don't, and students don't seem to realize, the ones that are being bullied and the ones that are bullying, they don't realize that you put something out on the internet, we print it, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not tiny trouble, you're suspended from school trouble. It's cyberbullying.
Mm-hmm.
And it can get you into huge, huge issues. We've seen it more and more.
So as a parent, do I call guidance first? Do I call for 911?
Find out if it's, especially if they do have the technology, the cell phone and the laptops and everything like that, print everything you possibly can. 911, not so much, non-emergency numbers, and be like, I'm having some difficulties, my student's being bullied, I understand it's at school, but we're receiving things at home
Okay.
as well. So having that material, and inform your school so that we can help both the student that's being bullied and the student that is bullying, because there are some issues on both ends of things, because I understand it's so much easier to vilify the person that is bullying, but they're bullying for a reason. There's something going on there that they need help with too, so that both kids can be helped, as well as their peer groups too.
Right. All right. So the last real big question I have for you is: do guidance counselors, do guidance departments vary at all between states, counties, districts? And if so, if I find that I have to move, do I need to prepare my student for that in any way, or do I need to be prepared?
I mean, different departments in different schools, yes, they vary, because it really does depend on where you're living.
Mm-hmm.
The way they set up their departments, if they have like straight alpha like we do, and they're following their students year to year, or if they have a particular population of students, like if they have an academy or a special kind of department, academics that they offer, like International Baccalaureate, IB programs, and things like that. Sometimes they have the counselors with those students only. But mostly if a parent or family is moving from place to place, you'll want to find out what school your child is going to be going to, especially in secondary and high school, to find out what kind of schedule they have.
Okay.
Like we have 7-period day. Some schools have 4-block. which they're earning 4 credits per semester. If a student is coming from 7-period day, it could really, put a glitch in
Their transcripts.
It could be weird when it comes to the transition because they may have to wait a little bit longer to get that half credit, or they may not receive credit. Also find out if they have the same course selection or as close of a course selection as possible to what their student is currently taking, so that, say, you're leaving in the middle of a semester, your transfer grade, your withdrawal grade is going to go straight to whatever class they're going into at their new school. So even though it's going to be a difficult transition because you're changing schools, at least academically, you're taking what you have and going into the same type of class. And with things like Common Core, they're trying to make that change, a transition, as close as possible from state to state, so that it's not like we weren't covering this at the other school. They're trying to meet the same benchmarks at about the same time during the year, and I can appreciate what they're trying to get at with that, because we do have a lot of transient communities where the kids they can sometimes go 2 or 3 schools a year. We have students that are in foster care that are going to 2 and 3 schools a year, or even a semester, depending on their placement. So it really does throw a wrench in things, and it really puts them behind academically. So finding out as much as possible about the school that you're going to would benefit them best, because it would put the kids' minds at ease too, to know that, I'm taking an AP English class at my old school. Do they offer AP at the school that I'm going to? And to know that they do, like, okay, at least I can pick up where I left off. And then you can get to know your new counselor when you get there.
Yeah. Guidance departments and guidance counselors are, to me, kind of the unsung heroes of a campus. Is there anything that you would want parents to know about being a guidance counselor, what you can offer their students, or what the guidance department can do to just kind of help support a parent, support their child?
We're kind of notoriously known as the warm and fuzzy office. That, we're there to, because we're teachers, we're certified teachers, but we're certified counselors too. So we're not, their direct instructors as far as their grades are concerned. They're not going to receive a grade from us, nor are we their parents. We're right in the middle. So especially when I'm working with my students and my co-counselors, I see them work with their students. We're on the student side, we're on the teacher side, we're on the parent side, because we try to maintain ourselves as objective as possible, so that when we are, dealing with a student that maybe had a disagreement with a teacher, to try to see it from both the student side and from the teacher side, so that then maybe they will as well see the other side of things, or think about things in a different way. Because we're not just there to build them academically, we have to build them socially, we have to build them emotionally, we have to build them so they can be prepared for what's coming around the corner. And I want them to see the light at the end of the tunnel and not be a train coming their way.
Yeah.
I want it to be like, this is what I'm looking forward to, and to be ready and prepared and feel good about it. So when they graduate and they go to commencement, commencement is moving on to something. They're commencing with their life after high school, and if they feel good about it and ready for it, us being able to be a part of it is that much better.
And I think that says it all. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Have a great one.